Okay, so in the last lecture, we started trajectory planning, and in that lecture, we studied the general protocol, and in this lecture, we will descend into specific schemes, right? So, the broad issues in trajectory planning that we covered overall, and this segment, joint space schemes, is what remains, and that is what we are going to discuss in the present lecture. Joint space schemes. So the simplest scheme is cubic, and one point to be understood for all these schemes is that at the initial point and at the final point of the trajectory, which are always given obviously, we do inverse kinematics and then get all the theta values, all the joint variable values at those time instants. And if there are via points, then at the via points also we do that. And then we know for each joint what joint variable values should be at specific time instants. And that point onwards, planning for each joint gets decoupled from the others. So we can plan for theta 1 as this value at time initial, this value at next via point, this value at next via point, and so on. Okay, so at different time instants, for every joint variable, we know the values, and then independently for that, we can plan. Others can come and meet at the via points with correct theta values. In between, how they proceed, that is none of the business of one particular joint. So now onwards, we will discuss the schemes as if it is a matter of planning for a single scalar function, just one joint variable. Similar process will be there for all. Now, the simplest is a cubic plan, that is theta being a cubic function of time. And why so? Because typical requirements are theta at the initial time, theta at the final time, theta dot at the initial time, and theta dot at the final time. This is the typical requirements, okay, at the terminal point. So in order to satisfy four requirements, we need a kind of function which has four parameters, right? And cubic is one such possibility. So we can propose theta t as this, a cubic function of time, and then impose these four conditions. As we see, this function is a cubic function of time, but as we put the value of time and put the value of theta, then what we get is a linear equation in the coefficients a0, a1, a2, a3. Okay? So from here we get one such linear equation among the four coefficients. From here another linear equation. From here also and here also we will get linear equations. The derivative of this will be a1 plus twice a2t plus thrice a3t square. When we put the value of t on this side and the value of theta dot on that side for this t and this t, then two more linear equations in the coefficients we get. So overall we will get four linear equations in a0, a1, a2, a3, and we can solve four linear equations. And that coefficient matrix will be certainly non-singular. In fact, you can get it and put it once or put it keep its inverse once, and then whenever you need that a0, a1, a2, a3, you can solve it. Okay. So, or whatever way you can solve 4 equations, and you can verify, you should verify that the coefficient matrix is non-singular. It will be non-singular. Okay. So this is the simplest scheme, which is the cubic scheme. Now you can have higher polynomials also, higher degree polynomials also. Why should it be needed? If it happens that there are more requirements, say double dot. Okay. So if the acceleration values also are prescribed at the initial time and the final time, then rather than 4 conditions, you will have 6 conditions. So in order to meet that, similarly, you can propose a fifth degree polynomial and then put all the 6 conditions, get 6 equations and solve them. It's similar. If via point requirements are there, typically 2 via points you give, you might give more. So we discussed in the previous lecture why 2 via points are typically given. One is very near the initial point, so as to not hit anything close by from where the object is picked. Another is near the delivery point. Okay, for the same reason. So 2 via points are typically needed. If more via points are needed, for that matter, if 2 via points only are needed, that is at t equal to a little bit after starting, theta value is given, and t a little bit less than the final time, again theta is given. So in that case also, if the requirement for the terminal points are position and velocity as in the cubic case, then these 4 and 2 more, there will be 6 conditions. For that also a fifth degree polynomial will suffice. In addition, you have, if you have more via points and or whichever it is, more conditions like acceleration conditions, etc., then you will have more data. That means in order to satisfy more data, that is more requirements, you will need more parameters, more coefficients. So you can talk of higher degree polynomials. So in principle, sky is the limit, but in practice, there are other constraints. Okay, so this is something which you need to appreciate. A higher degree polynomial has a scope for oscillation. You know how a linear function behaves. A linear function either goes on increasing all the way or goes on decreasing all the way or might stay constant. Okay, so that is very straightforward. How does a quadratic function behave? A quadratic function either initially comes down and then goes up, having a minimum point, or initially goes up and then finally comes down. Okay, and that's it. That's all features that a quadratic function can display. A cubic can go up, down, up, or down, up, down. That much oscillation a cubic can give at most. Okay, so more degree you have for the polynomial, the more possibility of oscillation would be there. Now, for a 6-degree polynomial, typical variation could be down, up, down, up, down, up. That's it. Or exactly the other way, up, down, up, down, up, down. That is the most uh, oscillations that a 6-degree polynomial can display. It is not necessary that every 6-degree polynomial has that many up downs, but it might have up to that. Okay, and that may mean something very bad for a robot manipulator. Why? Because a particular joint of the robot has to move from this value to this value, and this kind of a profile would mean that you turn it clockwise and then anti-clockwise that much, then clockwise this much, then anti-clockwise that much, then clockwise this much and anti-clockwise that much. It doesn't sound sensible, right? Why can't you go simply? So unless it is necessitated by the via points, why should the theta go on changing so much? Okay, but if you allow a 6-degree polynomial, then such a thing might happen, and that will affect your trajectory. So degree of the polynomial for theta t should not be allowed to go too high. What is the other possibility? Other possibility is that you have too many conditions because of via points. Okay. So if you have via points between the initial time and the final time, at 4 other time instants you have specified theta, then why don't you do it like this, that you have one cubic from the initial point to the first via point, then another cubic from the first via point to the second, and so on till the end. The last cubic would be from the last via point to the terminal point. So that is considered one good choice. So each of the segments will have limited possibility of oscillation, and quite often not oscillations at all, because as we said that every 6-degree polynomial doesn't have to oscillate this much. Similarly, every cubic does not have to oscillate this much. Okay, many cubics actually go like this, okay, like this. So monotonic, or going like this, almost very little oscillation. So after hitting the maximum, it might come very little down and then again start going up. So that kind of a possibility is also there. So cubics typically do not show too much of oscillations. So this is quite possibly a good path. However, there is a problem. Note here, the data gives only the following: at time t0, t1, t2, t3, etc. up to tn. So t1 to tn minus 1 are time instants for via points. Okay. So at these n plus 1 time instants, n plus 1 theta values are given, and at the initial time the speed theta dot value, and at the final time also theta dot value is given. At these points, theta dot values actually do not have much significance. So nobody really wants a specific theta dot value when it completes the first segment and starts on the second segment, when it passes through a particular via point, unless specially required for that particular task, which is rare. So at these places, theta dot values are actually not prescribed for the requirements. However, if you want to plan a cubic between this point and this point, then at T0 you would want to give, you would need to give actually theta dot both, which you have, but at T1 also you would need to give the variable value and its rate. Rate you don't have. Similarly, from here to here as you plan, you would need the rates for both if you are planning for cubic. With this much data, you could join a linear. Okay, but if you join a linear function between these two, then the rate at this boundary will have no relation with the rate at with which the first segment got over. Okay, so continuity, first order continuity will be lost. So that also you cannot do. So now the problem is that theta dot values at the via points you will need to supply from your hand. Okay, I mean some funny value. Then if you supply such values, then what you will do, you will plan this cubic with this theta dot, this theta, and this another supplied theta dot, and then this segment you will plan with this theta dot. So since the theta dot will be used same on both sides, so there will be derivative continuity. There will be continuity in theta dot. So that is what is done. Theta dot at these points have to be provided. Okay, and that creates a problem for you because you have no guideline based on which you should choose theta 1 dot values. Okay, so any theta 1 dot value would seem as good as any other. However, they are not. Okay, because some theta dot values might tend to make the joint move in the opposite direction in which it makes good sense to move from this segment to that segment, or if not exactly opposite, then I mean quite disparate. Okay? One is going like this, another is going like this, and by forcing that artificial theta dot value here, you are, you know, negotiating a continuous enough, derivative continuous, no doubt, but unnecessary bad turnings you take, through which you would end up with too much of motion. And doing that, subjecting your manipulator path to that kind of unnecessary uh, twists and turns and distortions actually is not a good idea. And even after that, even for that, you will need to supply some values of theta dot, and you have no guideline. Okay, so this is bad. So in order to counter that, a great solution is a cubic spline. There we say that, well, from the problem point of view, at these via points, theta dot values were not important. So why do we supply it? Let us not supply that. Okay. Rather, simply say it will have theta dot continuity here. Okay. So whatever is the theta dot of this segment, whatever should be the same for the theta dot at this segment. That is, the final theta dot of the first segment and the initial theta dot of the second segment should be same. Similarly here. Say only that much. However, saying only that much is one condition less for every via point. Why so? Because now let us put a number for n. Say if n is 5, then there are 5 segments. For each of the 5 segments, you need 4 conditions. Okay. So if you say that for the first segment, this is condition 1, this is condition 1, this is condition 1, this is condition 1. Now these two conditions will apply for the next segment also. So like that you will get 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, all 20 conditions. Now if you do not supply the theta 1 dot value here, if you simply say that whatever is the theta 1 dot value on this side, the same should be on that side, then you are actually giving one condition less here. Okay. So see, condition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ordinary from here to here you had 8 conditions. Now how many you will have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and this doubles up. 4, 5, 6, and here you say we don't know. So you say whatever is here, the same should be here. So only 1, 7. So one condition less, and that is a problem, because in order to determine so many coefficients, 4 for this and 4 for this, you needed total 8 conditions. But now if you take only this segment, you get only 3 conditions clear cut and another is tentative. And when you add it with one of this, then you find that whatever would come otherwise as one condition in this segment and another condition in this segment together comes out to be a single condition. So one condition deficit. So you will have infinite solutions. You cannot fix the solution. So in order to fix the solution, you say that, well, so at this via point, we will bring a condition externally. We will say that, okay, so if we have the possibility of imposing another condition, then let us impose the condition that at this point the function theta of t should have second order continuity also. So whatever is the velocity on this side at this point should be the same as the velocity on this side at this point. And now put a similar condition on acceleration. The acceleration, the final acceleration of this segment and the initial acceleration of this segment should be same. This additional condition you put from your hand, and that is what gives you cubic spline. Okay. So here for spline you have the conditions that all the theta values are given. Theta dot values are given at the initial point and the final point, and in between for the via points theta dot values are not given, they are not the requirements, continuity is the requirement. And in order to fulfill the deficit of one condition for every via point, you put another condition that in theta double dot also you want continuity across these points. Now this will give you the correct number of conditions that you needed. So now you see how it works. Denote theta dot value at these points. These points means whatever is on this side, the same on that side. So this value, let us call it omega 1. Similarly, this value, let us call it omega 2, and so on. Now you see, for this segment, for segment 1, you can happily plan this segment with the help of 4 conditions: theta 0, theta 1, omega 0, omega 1. Now these 3 are available as values. Omega 1 is not. So you will get this cubic path in terms of omega 1. Okay, it will be linear in omega 1, as we have seen. I had seen that in coefficients it is linear. So theta of t for the first segment will be, so these are unknown right now, okay, at via points. So we'll get theta in terms of omega 1, and therefore theta double dot. Evaluate all of them and keep. Now for the second segment, theta 1, omega 1 unknown, theta 2 and omega 2, this also unknown. In terms of these 4, you get the theta of t for the second segment. Okay, in which these 2 are numbers, the other 2, omega 1 and omega 2, are right now unknowns. Okay. And the theta of t, that function, will be a linear function of both of them, omega 1 and omega 2. So the second segment will be in terms of omega 1 and omega 2. The third segment will be in terms of omega 2 and omega 3, theta, theta dot, theta double dot, all of them linear functions. And then when you impose the second order continuity requirement, that whatever is the second order derivative from this side at the end, that will be in terms of omega 1, should be the same, should be equal to the theta double dot value in the beginning of this segment, and that will be in terms of theta 1, theta 2 known, and omega 1 and omega 2. So that will be again in terms of omega 1 and omega 2. So the theta double dot value at this point from this side is in terms of omega 1, from this side is in terms of omega 1 and omega 2. So when you equate those two, you get one equation in omega 1 and omega 2. So write it as something omega 1 plus something else omega 2, the two coefficients, equal to a constant. Other entries in this row are 0. Then next one, add this. So from this side, the second derivative is in terms of omega 1 and omega 2. From this side, it is in terms of omega 2 and omega 3. So when you equate the two, you get an equation among omega 1, omega 2 and omega 3. Again linear equation. So omega 1, omega 2, omega 3. Okay. Others are 0. So you get another equation. At the next, similarly, you will get an equation among omega 2, omega 3, omega 4. Next, omega 3, omega 4, omega 5, and so on till the last one. In the last, again, like in the initial, you would get between omega n minus 2 and omega n minus 1. That is why here only two entries in this row. So this turns out to be a tridiagonal banded system of linear equations in these, which you can solve for these and get the values of these joint rates at these changeover points. Okay, and this gives you a spline. Okay, a continuous curve with second order continuity everywhere. You see, individual polynomials are continuous up to infinite order. The point of concern is only the via point, where on this side there is one polynomial, on that side there is another polynomial, both sides cubic in this case. So establishing the required continuity across that was the problem, and there also we have established second order continuity. So this spline is a continuous second order continuous curve throughout. Individual segments will turn out to be cubics. Okay, so this is actually a very good plan, and cubic spline happened to be a very old traditional kind of drafting tool. In engineering design, when designers, engineers needed, or draftsmen needed to connect several points continuously, then they used to take a flexible rod and nail it down at those points through which they had to pass the curved ruler. Okay, and then that flexible rod used to bend according to those pivots. Okay, put at those points, and then like this, like this, like this, like this, you would get a continuous curve which would be aesthetically fine and smooth and so on, and it would pass through the required ranges. So the bending of the beam actually ensures that each segment turns out to be a cubic because the ends are simply supported. So that tool, that draftsman tool, was known as spline. Okay? From that, this interpolation technique, the spline interpolation, has originated. So all these are in one continuity. So you could have a single cubic or a single higher order polynomial, or multiple cubics, each separately planned as cubics with required values at all the via points, or doing a composite design of the entire curve together, you can have a cubic spline. Another way to look at it is not mathematically from the beginning, rather from a common sense perspective, in which mathematics enters into the picture a little late, and that is by considering that if you have to go from one point to another, then typically what kind of motion you prefer? You typically prefer to go all the way at your favorite speed, okay? But then initially you need to pick up that speed, and finally from that speed you have to reduce the speed to the to zero speed, okay? So initially you may need to pick up the speed, and finally you have to stop. In between, for the major portion of the path, you typically prefer to go at a uniform rate. Such a path is called linear path with parabolic planes. This is what we next discuss. Okay, but I will make a little stop here, little pause here of 1 minute, after which I will continue again. Okay, so here the way when you go from somewhere to somewhere else on your bicycle, most of the time you ride with your favorite speed, and in the initial segment of the journey you pick up the speed, and in the final speed of the journey you bring the speed down. So if you do like that, then the theta dot versus time plot would look like this. At uniform acceleration you pick up speed up to your favorite speed, and then go like this, and then near the destination you start reducing your speed and come down like this. When you integrate this, you get the theta plot, which is initial to the linear velocity, I mean the uniform velocity segment, then long uniform velocity segment, finally again a little uniform deceleration segment like this. Okay, so this is the theta plot. So this is the path which is called linear path with parabolic blends. This is a parabolic segment, and this is a parabolic segment. So you put these two parabolic segments to blend the speed from 0 to a finite speed, and then finally from that finite speed back to 0, or whatever value you need at this end and at that end. Okay. So for this, the constraints on your plan would be that theta dot you cannot take too high, so that will be limited, and acceleration also, the rate of the building up of the speed should not be too high. So on these two there will be limitations. Now with these two limitations, whether it is possible to change this theta to that theta within that time, that will be determined by these restrictions. So how to check that? One way to check that would be to look at the velocity plot and then observe that the area under that velocity plot would be the distance covered, or in this case the theta change, delta theta. Okay, so delta theta change would be, has to be less than the total time. Of course, this could be some time other than 0. It could be Ti. Okay, but without loss of generality, for the sake of convenience, we have taken 0 here. Okay, so then Tf times W lim, omega lim, would be the full rectangular area, which is actually larger than this. So compared to that, this change in theta must be less. Okay, now whatever it is, the change in theta, that would be theta dot max times not Tf but a little less, Tf minus Tb, where Tb is the time of the acceleration and the same as the time of the deceleration, the same magnitude of the accelerations at both ends. Okay, so that is why this is Tf minus Tb. You see, this area is the same as this area. So the area under the velocity plot would be this triangle plus this rectangle plus this triangle, and this triangle is the same as this triangle. So if you interchange these two, because you are right now calculating only the area, then it would be same as this rectangular area, right? And that would be Tf minus Tb times theta dot max. That is this. Okay. So first of all, you will have this in which theta dot max must be less than this. Okay. So you choose, I mean, if this is satisfied, which is necessary, then you have to choose a theta dot max up to which you pick up speed, and then this is given, this you have chosen less than omega lim. So Tf minus Tb you get, Tf is given, so Tb is what you will get. Now based on this Tb, you can check whether the acceleration is within bounds. So that acceleration here and the magnitude of the acceleration here also, here acceleration is negative, will be theta dot max divided by Tb, right? Theta dot max divided by Tb, that again should be less than the maximum acceleration allowed. Now, in an alternative and completely valid formulation, Craig formulates this same constraints in the form of a quadratic. Okay, and if that quadratic has real solutions, then these are satisfied, otherwise not. Okay, according to that parameters you can choose. So here this is one common sense way to choose the parameters, and this turns out to be equivalent to that. You can match the two calculations and you will see the equivalence. So this is linear path with parabolic blend. Okay, now this path has quite a few advantages. One is that it's sort of sensible. Okay, no, and second is that it is monotonic, so continuously increasing or continuously decreasing depending upon whether theta f is higher than theta I or the other way. So it is monotonic path. So that means if a theta in a particular segment has to increase, then it continuously increases rather than increasing, decreasing, then again increasing. Okay, this is one. So these are a few advantages of this kind of path, and most of the time the motor is driven at its most suitable velocity. Okay, so that is another advantage. Again, one more thing, you should not accelerate so slowly that even before the maximum velocity is achieved, the time of the deceleration comes. So this period of acceleration should not be more than half of the complete time that has been provided. The pickup and the slowdown should take much smaller time durations rather than the total run. Okay. Now, in this, till now we have not considered any via point. Now, suppose there are via points, you can still have linear path segments with parabolic lengths. In that case, not only near the initial and final time, but around the via points also, you will have parabolic planes. And for that, what is needed to be chosen and what is needed to be done. So, say initial theta, next theta at next time, then next theta at next time. So, these you put, and then to begin with, you connect all of them by straight lines, straight line segments, and then say that the first segment from here to here, it's a parabolic blend for this linear segment. So this point to this point, you plan to move most of the time along the linear path, but initially to come to that linear path, you start from here a parabolic curve, then linear, and then again from this linear to that linear, you move through this little parabolic blend. And for that, what is to be chosen? The acceleration with which this linear segment blends into this linear segment, that you choose, and accordingly you will be able to work out the time of the acceleration. The acceleration will be this velocity minus that velocity divided by the acceleration chosen will give you this total time. Half on this side, half on that side. Okay. So like this, you work out the parabolic blend. So you decide the acceleration theta double dot for each blending segment, and one can find out the blending time like this. Okay. But you should make note of one point, that here the via points are actually not really crossed. The path really does not pass through the via points. It blends close to it. And that is most of the time all right. Close to it is most of the time all right. Because the via points are not sacrosanct most of the time. They are given so as to avoid hitting things. Okay? Most of the time. So typically, if the user wants to provide some guidelines regarding through what path it should proceed, for that via points are given, but they are not functionally very highly relevant. So this is most of the time fine. So trajectory does not pass through the via point, just blends around its neighborhood. However, in some situations, the via point may be important. That is, if at the via point there is some event, if there is something to happen at the via point, okay, in that case, the via point may be important. So if a via point is important through which the trajectory must pass, then you need to apply a little modification to this. You can still use linear segments with parabolic blends, but now the actual via points that you need the trajectory to pass through, you don't provide to this routine to calculate the trajectory. Rather, you try to put the via point somewhere here. And what is the way to put it there? You actually give a fictitious via point on this side and on that side, so that the real via point falls in the line joining these two, somewhere in the middle, not near, very near this one, nor very near that one. Okay. So if you actually want the trajectory to pass through a particular via point, then the actual via point may be here. You provide for your routine a pseudo via point here and a pseudo via point here. Then the linear segments with parabolic blend will blend around this pseudo via point that you have given, and around this also. In the process, it will actually cover the linear segment through this point, because you have contrived to put this actual via point on a line in between the two pseudo via points that you are providing, with which you are actually calculating the trajectory. So these are the typical joint space schemes which are used most of the time in industrial robotics. Okay. Always keep in mind that if the task requires the hand to move on a particular line, then the path has to follow that, and in that case all these joint space schemes will not work. In that case you will have to do point by point inverse kinematics in any case. Okay, so here we stop, and with this lecture on trajectory planning, my segment of the course gets over, and after this we will hopefully have one interactive session if we can work out a time. Okay, and in the next few days we will discuss the plan of the mid-sem exam also a little bit, which is coming in the next week. Okay, thank you.